Oh man, Halloween was pretty good at first until a snag in the road at the end where I realized something. Alright, so in my previous videos, I mentioned I'd been planning to go to Museum of Science, the Guy Fieri restaurant, and the Rocky Horror Picture Show, the full body cast, all in one day. I almost considered just pulling the plug on it because I was becoming really unsure about staying out that late in a downtown area of a major city. Sorry, my watch needs to charge. I thought about maybe just cutting the Museum of Science and then leaving later in the day and then going to just the Guy Fieri restaurant, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But I decided to see this through, and you know what? I don't regret it completely. My only regret is that I didn't do better research on the Rocky Horror Picture Show experience. The only bad thing I'm going to say about that whole thing is they should have either had everything ready by 9 o'clock because that's what the ticket time said, or they should have had it say 9:30 and then started admitting people at 9 so that we weren't standing in the lobby for way longer than I expected. Like, okay, maybe you had a delay this one time. I'm not gonna fault you for that, but if that's how it regularly goes with timing, I would have really appreciated if they'd been more upfront with that. Or I should have dug into it more. I'm not gonna spend all time blaming them. The full body cast, I love their enthusiasm, I love the energy. But after all the delays and then the pre-show stuff that kind of confused me. Like, um, I know you're not doing previews for this, but come on, really? Well, anyway, my day began when I got up and got cleaned up and dressed for the day. And then I walked over to the Dunkin' Donuts where I ate a quick breakfast and morning snack. And then I went over to the store across the street where I called my Uber to the museum because it was the best place to have someone pick me up. So I got in the Uber. The car ride there took me well past 9 o'clock, which made me realize I made the right call to not buy my tickets to the museum in advance because if I'd been late for my timed ticket, I would have had to buy a new one. But we rode in silence. I was able to get my sound meditation from my Apple Fitness Plus plan out of the way. So that was actually one of the upsides of having a Uber driver who was more of the strong and silent type. He wasn't very talkative. And you know what? Once I read the room, I decided to just quietly do stuff on my phone, thank him when we arrived, and then leave a generous tip. I have yet to have a genuinely bad experience with an Uber driver. I'm just gonna say it. You Uber drivers, you guys are the real heroes. Well, I got to the museum, I bought my tickets. A guy dressed like Indiana Jones scanned my ticket. Really cool Halloween costume, by the way. I'm not gonna lie. I liked that. Then I went into the exhibit halls to begin my day, and it was really eerie. I think I was literally the first visitor in there that day. And let me tell you, without the crowds and such, a museum exhibit hall, the Museum of Science exhibit hall just felt kind of eerie when it's empty like that, except for some staff. Lesson learned from that: don't show up at the Museum of Science right when they open. Maybe aim for 9:30, 10 in the future. On a weekday, they're very unlikely to hit capacity and not be able to sell me a ticket at the box office. Plus, I have a souvenir now in the form of the ticket. I mean, it's a little worn out from being in my pocket all day, but I have a souvenir. Yeah, I gallivanted around the exhibit halls, taking in the wonders of science. Then I went to the 4D theater, which had new glasses since the last time I went in there in 2008 on a school field trip. Which, another thing I noticed is that multiple school field trips showed up. I think that's part of the reason that museums, aquariums, and such are open during the daytime on a weekday. It's still probably less crowded than it would be on, say, a Saturday or a Sunday or a holiday. But I swear, the majority of the visitors there were kids on a school field trip. I could tell because some of them were wearing matching shirts, others had obvious chaperones telling them where to go, what to do, or more like trying to maintain some semblance of order. And they were also carrying around worksheets. Well, anyway, I went to a couple of live presentations. I went to this one about hot and cold stuff. I was the brave volunteer who high fived the kettle of boiling water that turned out to be boiling because it was liquid nitrate or something. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember everything from that. Anyway, I went to the Theater of Electricity because you gotta do that when you're at the Museum of Science in Boston. Unfortunately, it was quite crowded. I think pretty much all the most, if not all of the school field trip groups were in there. So it was a bit crowded and I had to get into standing space. Like I had to stand in the top row. Again, I'm not going to complain. It's my fault. I should have arrived there early to secure a good seat, or I should have accepted that, or I should accept it's a first world problem and move on. Anyway, the whole theater electricity thing was cool to watch, and when the guy who was conducting it was able to started taking questions after the fact, I was able to ask him about a lightning related question with Venom 3. If you haven't seen it, this isn't really a spoiler, but Juno Temple's character's arm is paralyzed from being struck by lightning in the shoulder, and then the blast also kills her brother who's holding that hand. Okay, that's a little bit of a spoiler, but hey, the guy didn't mind that particular detail because I was trying to give him the full context and try to fact check it. Between him and ChatGPT, I confirmed that the arm paralysis is physically possible, though the guy at the Theater of Electricity said it was more likely that she would have been struck in the head by lightning if she were in the situation. Hopefully, he sees the movie and he can decide for himself whether that was actually realistic. I mean, if it's at least physically possible, I can live with that. But if it's actually impossible, that's just bad writing. Anyway, after that, I had lunch at the Riverview Cafe. The pizza was so so. I mean, I think in the future, because before I left, I talked to the information desk about stashing food in the rented locker, and I think $5 for a small locker where I could put, I don't know, a hoodie or a jacket with snacks and water bottles stashed inside. I think that might be what I'd prefer doing in the future. Her exact words were that it's allowed, so I think I'm gonna do that. Unless I get a membership and if I'm going more often, I decide, you know what, I can get something from the Riverview Cafe. I spent less than $10 on lunch for a pizza and a soda. That's a pretty good price in 2024, all things considered. All right, jumping back to lunchtime, I just recharged my stuff until it was time for my Mugar Omni Theater show. I went to Cities of Tomorrow, which was narrated by John Krasinski. Decent show. I also liked the new sound check and I guess picture check setup they had. It used to be a more simple one that was actually narrated by Leonard Nimoy interacting with someone with some female voice that I don't know. I was surprised that they still had it when I went there in 2019, the last time I went there, because that was over 4 years after he'd died. Though I do appreciate that this new one, they actually kept the one line of him saying, "This is the Mugar Omni Theater sound check." I don't remember the words verbatim, but it was from the original one. I was like, I'm glad they kept that in there. I really appreciate that. I did that. I charged my phone and my watch a little more. I went to my planetarium show, which was narrated by Ed Helms, which I think is funny because I went to see two shows, both narrated by a cast member of The Office, and also the guy who played the smartest man alive, and the guy who voiced Captain Underpants. The planetarium show was pretty cool. I think it was the same one I went to in 2019, and I saw it's from 2012, so I have to wonder why they haven't made an updated one. See, the reason that things change at the Museum of Science is because science does change. Some things are constant, like gravity, etc. But I digress. So I went. So after that, I found out I confirmed the locker details. I skipped the gift shop this time because I was I was gonna I wasn't gonna be home for a while longer. I'm actually ahead of schedule. Anyway, I went to the Guy Fieri restaurant. It was pretty relaxed and calm, probably because not as many people were going out to dinner on Halloween as that. I once went to dinner on Christmas Eve, and it was kind of like that. If you want a full service restaurant experience that isn't particularly crowded, go on Halloween or Christmas Eve. Trust me, it'll be nice and calm. And this was in downtown Boston. So yeah, that was good. Server was nice. We had a nice little exchange about the costumes we saw. I told her about Indiana Jones from the Museum of Science. But then I had to spend 2 hours, an hour and a half or 2 hours, hanging around the Boston Common, which it was pretty nice. It was cool to see all the costumes out there. I was actually surprised there are so many people out there on Halloween. Halloween at the Boston Common, pretty interesting. Unfortunately, not a great way to spend 90 minutes, and the AMC there, not as much you can do while you wait for your movie. They wouldn't even let you go past the usher or who was checking tickets. I had a nice little chat with her about how it was working on Halloween because I actually worked at a movie theater on Halloween 5 years ago today as I record this, which I'll do a full video in the future about how I learned that I don't like working at night. But I think this was the first step towards me deciding to give up because what happened next was kind of annoying. Again, I don't fault the full body cast for this. If anything, I would fault AMC for making the ticket say 9 o'clock when it should have said 9:30. And then if the pre-movie stuff is what's instead of the previews, then I can live with that. But no, after I bought my prop bag, they had us wait in a line far away from the auditorium it was in for a full hour from 8:30. Honestly, I'd like to be charitable in assuming that they were still figuring some stuff out for the actual show because I know they have the live cast there, so charitable assumption here. They had to figure that out, and I made as far as I did, but between having to go to the bathroom and such, and and then the theater not having reclining seats. So, if you've ever been to a movie theater that doesn't have the reclining seats, you know what I'm talking about. Before they remodeled for that, it was the stadium setup, yes, but my God, the rows were narrow. That's why I almost actually he saw this through because I felt a little trapped by deciding, nope, I need to go to the bathroom, and if I feel like getting back into my seat, I will go back and do that. I went to the bathroom. I took a look back in the auditorium, and then I decided, you know what? I learned from seeing Joker 2, that some things aren't worth seeing it through for no matter how much you've sunk into this. I had sunk pretty much the whole day because I cleared the whole day for this when maybe if I'd done just this and nothing but this, it would have been worth it because I would have been like, okay, it's gonna be a little later. But with how long I'd been out that day and honestly annoyed at the fact that it looked like the movie was gonna start an hour later than what the ticket had said, like the actual movie. If the previews had if the pre-show had started at 9, fine. Regular movie at 9:20 or so. I assume AMC also allots 20 minutes for previews. Also fine, but this, uh-uh, no. I saw Joker 2 through to the bitter end, and I genuinely regretted it. I felt like I'd died and gone to movie hell. I wouldn't go say the same thing about this, but I realized, you know what? I don't always have to see everything through. Because up to this point, I'd had a problem where I felt I had to see things through to the bitter end. I always believed never start what you can't finish. Well, fuck that. I am not gonna fall for the sunk cost fallacy anymore. I mean, I was kind of getting off of that habit anyway when I deleted my old YouTube channel and started this incarnation of it, deciding to keep it simple and keep it casual. You know, it actually makes for the perfect October character arc. Beginning of October, suffers through horrible movie, feels betrayed and insulted. End of the month, finds self in similar situation except he'd actually been looking forward to this. Realized you don't have to see everything through the bitter end. It's okay to give up sometimes. So I got out of there. I called an Uber and I went home. My Uber driver was really cool about listening to my reason. He was a lot more talkative than the one from the morning, which I'll admit I kind of needed anyway. I mean, I actually got the two perfect Uber drivers for the perfect situations. The morning, I needed to do my sound meditation on the way to the museum so that I wouldn't have to worry about doing it when I get home. Uber driver on the way home. I needed someone I could talk to about. I repeatedly thanked him for coming to my rescue and getting me out of there. And then he told me about some stuff he had going on that made me realize, you know what? If this is the worst thing that happened to me, my life is pretty good overall. And you know what? I'm really glad I went through this character arc. I basically got to live a movie or TV show. Think about it. I started the month questioning why I decide to constantly see things through, even no matter what, because of falling for the sunk cost fallacy. I slowly started testing the waters a little more. And when I found myself in a similar situation to where I was at the beginning, I was like, you know what? It's okay to give up. I'm not gonna stand for this if they're gonna keep it going. It's again nothing personal if you're from the full body cast watching this. Like I said at the start, I love your enthusiasm. I love how you put all this together, but I should have done my research on that. I don't blame anyone but myself for anything. If I do have to point any fingers at anyone else, I would point it at whoever has the ticket time say 9 o'clock. When if the lineup thing is the norm, they should have said 9:30. Knowing what I know now, I might give the Rocky Horror Picture Show with the full body cast another chance. They do it every Saturday, so I'm more than willing to give them another chance. I won't berate them for it, and now I'm kind of trying to decide whether I should classify myself as a virgin. For those of you who don't know, a big thing is you get a sticker that has the letter V on it for virgin. This is for people who have never experienced it, but now I'm in kind of a gray area with that. I went to one, I got through the start of it, but I eventually gave up and left. Comment down below what you think I should say if I ever give it another chance, knowing what to expect this time, and maybe ideally going with friends so that I at least have no strangers next to me. Only if you're from the full body cast and you're watching this, I do not take it personally. I do not blame you for anything. This is a me thing, and I made my decisions. I do not regret my decisions. I only regret not doing more research. Okay, you could say that's a decision. But yeah, maybe this just isn't the kind of thing for me, being out late at night. Let me know in the comments how your Halloween was. I think I'm gonna stick to just an annual tradition of getting some fun food and then selecting a scary movie or something, or maybe find something else that doesn't go so late into the night. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.